It's finally time for the exterior light upgrade. When my house got hit by hail 18 months ago and damaged all my siding, several of my fixtures took a beating as well, broke the glass, and as part of the home renovation that I'm doing, let's replace 7 of them. I'm going to be replacing 4 wall sconces across the red brick on the front of my house, 1 light up at the gable end of my garage. Also going to be installing some new floodlights down here in the basement to illuminate this whole backyard area. Hi, buddy. On the front of the house, we're going to modernize it by putting these black fixtures on. The reason that I went with these in particular, number one, they're weatherproof. So there's top and bottom lenses that have seals on them, but they're also 2 bulb fixtures. So there's a top bulb and a bottom bulb. And so they'll shine light up, they'll shine light down, they'll shine light out through the slots. And it's going to give me 8 total bulbs worth of light versus the 4 total bulbs worth of light I've got with my current fixtures. Plus, I think it's going to be a really nice aesthetic upgrade, having the black with the white siding and the red brick. For the floodlights, I'm going to be using these really nice Lithonia lighting LED flood lamps that are adjustable, not only in color temperature, but also in lumens. So I can change how bright they are. I can change what color it looks like between 3 different colors. And these are also a dusk to dawn or not. So I can turn the sensor on to have it be light detecting or just have it on with a switch or off with a switch. While they look the same, I actually have this one is a larger, brighter one than these 2. So I'll place these 2 in the back of my house because I don't need quite as much light with 2 of the fixtures. This one on the gable end of the house, I really want a lot of light to really brighten that up. The other thing I like about these is they are adjustable from an angle perspective, so I can tilt the head however I want and direct that light either downward or more away from the house. For reference on these Lithonia lights, this one that is brighter is the ESX F2, and this one is the ESX F1. Now as we install these lights, because we're doing this exterior, we need to make sure that moisture doesn't get into the junction box. So I did pick up gasket kits. Many people will also use just a bead of silicone, but I don't particularly like to silicone the fixtures to the wall. If you ever have to take them off, it's kind of a mess. These packages I got, I believe from Lowe's, they come with all different shapes and sizes. I really only need the round ones. I'll throw the other ones in the drawer. Let's start with the lights on the front of the house. Step number 1, turn off the breaker. Always turn off the breaker. Don't just turn off the light switch. You need to turn off power at the source. Now, when we pull this fixture out, we will check it with our non-contact voltage detector, or as many would know as a glow pen, to make sure there is no power there before we do actually touch it. First thing we need to do is get the old fixture pulled off. So to do that, there are 2 small screws that are just decorative, these little brass looking ones, on either side of the light that we're just going to loosen up. And usually these types of decorative screws are only on finger tight. They do have a slotted head that you could use a screwdriver if you could get a small angular driver in there. Now when I pull this off, I suspect there's going to be a bunch of bugs and stuff behind. These lights have been here for probably 24 or 25 years. Yep. Now before we touch these wires, we're going to make sure we test them with our pen. So we're going to turn it on. It's always important to check these first. A lot of times you can rub it on your shirt and you can hear it beep because of the static electricity, or go check it on an outlet. So we're going to check our black wires, which would be the hot wire in AC circuitry. But it's always important, just in case somebody wired it incorrectly with the wrong colors. It shouldn't, but you always just check all colors. So we're good. Let's get our fixture undone and get it removed. We've also got to remove this mounting plate. Now, I could potentially reuse this because this plate here does actually rotate. So I need my pins to be vertical for this new light fixture. But as you can see, the spacing between the existing mounting screws and what I need is different. So we're going to have to remove it, and we'll use the one that came with the fixture. So we'll take our slotted screws out, give us a chance to pull that mounting plate off there. Ratcheting screwdrivers are the best, by the way. As I'm taking a look at this mounting plate relative to the box, I've run into a problem right away that I'm going to have to solve. The screw holes that are on the mounting box itself are not quite exactly the same dimension as the plate slots. And so I think part of the problem is the box is sitting at a bit of an angle, and the box screw tabs are kind of cockeyed at a weird angle. So what I'm going to try to do, if I put this in here, you'll see that I'll put one screw on the very outside, and the other one, if I go to try to line it up, it doesn't quite get there. I'm about probably a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch short. The two solutions I'm going to look at. I think if I take and bend the tab in just a little bit, and same on this side, if I bend the tab in a little bit in the box, the screws will be at a very slight angle, but they'll still work and hold the plate successfully, because I need these pins to be perfectly vertical for the light. The other thing I might have to do is over here on the plate, I might take my file and file off just a little bit of this inner edge to let that screw pass in. So I think I'm going to be able to make this work after tapping those in a couple times and playing with it. I've got enough room where now I can take that plate and rotate and get it to where it's perfectly vertical. So I placed the gasket behind here. I also put some washers over the top of these screws. I just wanted a little more surface area since I'm kind of pulling at funny angles. I had to bend those tabs a little bit. It'll just make me feel more comfortable that it's got a good surface bearing against that mounting plate. I think that's going to work out well. I'm going to tighten it up and see how I feel and make sure that those pins are nice and vertical for the light. So these are vertical light fixtures, so I need to put my level on these two pins and make sure that it is nice and straight. Otherwise, that fixture, being as long as it is going to look weird and crooked. So let's take and level up and make sure that this is straight. I'll probably also, after I get this all mounted, the fixture's probably still going to need to be tweaked just a little bit. So I'm going to get it as perfect as I can here. And then from there, we'll put the fixture on and we'll take a look. Let's make sure we're still level after tightening it up. So next we're going to take and test fit the light just to make sure everything looks right before I get it wired up and then try to get it permanently mounted. This can be kind of a challenge sometime, getting these pins lined up exactly. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab my level and just see how close we are. There is a little bit of play in it on those screws, just because you're dealing with the screws that are so far out from the plate, you can twist them just a little bit. And it looks like I'll be able to keep that nice and perfectly level. So I'm happy with that. Let's wire it up. So I'm doing this by myself, so I needed to make sure the fixture doesn't get scratched on the brick while I'm trying to get it wired. So I took a piece of cardboard and just shoved it over the screw that mounts the light to the wall. And that'll allow me to kind of hang on to the fixture and the wires and hopefully not scratch it while I'm getting this wired up. Or drop it.
What gauge wire do you use?
I think these fixtures probably, this stranded wire is probably like a 16 gauge maybe. But the house wiring is a 14. Okay, now you can let it hang there. So it'll stand up like this.
Oh, it'll stand up.
Yeah,
straight.
I just have it hanging on the wires right now.
Yeah, I didn't know if it's...
So I turned it on and tested it. Everything worked fine. Didn't blow a breaker. That's good. So we'll finish pushing the wires back in. Now comes one of the worst parts, trying to get these little screws on behind the light with really big hands. Let's go turn it on. That's going to look really nice. I had to pause for some family things, but it's evening. The light looks very nice. I'm going to real quick try to get the other 3 put up in the front and get that taken care of, and I'll deal with the ones in the back another day. So the next thing we're going to work on is putting up our floodlights. There's 2 in the back of the house and 1 on the gable end of the house. So let's go take a look at the fixture and set up the photocell as well as the color and the intensity of the light before we hang it. So my little helper's helping me here. So I've got on these light fixtures, this is the photocell that senses the light, and this is the cap that you remove to be able to get in and adjust the different settings. So when we take this off, you can see that the on-off indicates the photocell. So I do want it on for photocell. And then over here in the back, these can go between, I think it was 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000 color temperature. I'm going to set it in the middle. Then as far as brightness goes, I'm going to set this actually on the middle to start. So we'll put our cap back on. I'll definitely come back out in the dark sometime and see if I like it and make further adjustments. When they installed the siding, we have an electrical box that's in there, and then what they have is called a block around it. This is a mega block that they side up around, and that trim ring slides over the top to make it look really nice. They have a couple different sizes of those, and if you ever have new siding going on, I forgot to mention in my siding video, this is the mega block size. It's a good idea to replace with those big ones, because a lot of fixtures these days have big sconce bases on them. This one's not real big, but especially if you're in the front of a house, fixtures have a real big wide base and you'll want that bigger size. Now, as far as these bases go, there's multiple of them. This one is a threaded on so that I can take and put my 2 screws here and here to be able to hold that fixture up onto the electrical box. Now, I'm going to kind of estimate where it needs to go here. It's approximately 2 o'clock and maybe 7 or 8 o'clock with the screws as I look up at the box. So this, to secure it, uses just a jam nut on the threading. So I make sure that the threading is all the way through there in the middle. And then I'm going to take and get it to where, right there, I'm a little past where I think I need to be. I'm going to loosen it up, rotate my jam nut a little bit, and then I'll spin this back, and I see I'm not quite right. So I'm just eyeballing it to get it close here while I'm on the ground, so that by the time I go up there on the ladder, I'm pretty darn close. This will probably work if I tighten it with 2 hands. So I got my helper Wyatt holding the camera here. So first thing we're gonna do is check our wires to make sure they're off. I did go inside and turn the breaker off. So we have our glow pen that I just turned on. So I can see up here, there is no electricity. Sometimes when you touch it briefly, you'll get just a little beep of static, but so no electricity. So first thing I'm gonna do is get this wired before I check and make sure that my alignment on the fixture is right. So I did just put my gasket on. I need to grab my 3 wire nuts. This is where it can get a little tricky working by yourself. I'm just gonna hold on to the fixture and the wires with one hand and hopefully not drop it. Once we get one of the wire nuts on, it at least gives me a little confidence that I've got something backing me up, and the fixture can usually kind of hang. Give a couple twists there. Next, I'm going to grab the white, which would be the neutral. Couple twists on the wire for strain relief. And then last, we're going to grab our black, which if it's wired properly would be your hot. So now we've got our 3 wires twisted up. I've got my screws to put the fixture in. So we'll push our wires back into the box and we'll test fit to see how that angle was that I preset. Grab 1 screw, put it through the top in the gasket. I don't have enough room behind here to get my screwdriver in, so I just pulled the bit out of my screwdriver and I can put it in by hand and get this Phillips screw started. So once that 1 screw is started, it gives me a chance to shift the gasket around and shift the fixture around, and I can get this 2nd screw started in here. Just kind of wiggling the fixture back and forth to make sure I can get those screws nice and tight. We'll put the bit back in my screwdriver here and get the bottom one good tightened up. I'll probably go grab my angular screwdriver so that I can get on that top one and make sure it gets down a little tighter. Now I'm going to take my level and do a real quick check. It actually looks really perfect the way it is. And I am almost exactly level, which is what I wanted. I did already pre-tip this light up so that it's shining out away from the house a little bit. Again, I'm trying to kind of illuminate and flood my backyard versus just be right down over the top of the door. These lights installed really quickly and easily. These are going to be really nice to have not only a photocell, but also that adjustable color and temperature. So looking forward to seeing those tonight. All the wall sconce lights and the floodlights are complete. And just in the nick of time, I think this is the last nice day of fall we're going to have here. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you learned something. All the different tools and light fixtures that I was using, as many as I can find, I'll drop down in the description below. Amazon affiliate links if you're curious on checking them out. If you like the content, I encourage you to hit the like button. I appreciate it. It does help the channel. Hit the subscribe. More videos to come. I'm James with Learn from Dad. Stay curious, friends.